You know, after last month, I thought we'd seen the end of IPv8. From reading the proposal, which makes absolutely no sense and links out to non-existent references, reading the responses on places like Hacker News, along with the IETF mailing list, then knowing the fact that literally anyone can submit a proposal to the IETF, it doesn't have to make any sense whatsoever, I thought that we would never hear about IPv8 ever again. But oh, was I wrong. Recently, an article was published by The Register. Veteran network architect proposes IPv8 to improve IPv4, not leapfrog IPv6. This was published about a week ago. This is not just about the original proposal. Something else has happened since then. The creation of an IPv8 website. Build the branch, ship the solution. IPv8 is a managed network protocol suite that resolves IPv4 exhaustion, unifies network management, and stays 100% backwards compatible. There is no flag day, no forced migration, help fund the kernel build, and the first reference implementation of the addressing schema. Look, I am totally happy to be wrong here. If this is real, if something is going to happen here, hey, something happens, I'm wrong, that's that. We can move about our day. If in 6 months, a year from now, something actually comes from this, come back and tell me how stupid I was and how IPv8 is going to change the world. But the website is not doing itself much justice. When you look at websites, it can be hard to tell specifically how the site was made. But there are tells, and I'm pretty sure the site is AI generated. Partly, I know that because behind my webcam, there is a edit with Lovable button. So that's Lovable, not Lovence. That's a different company. Also, if we go to the developers page, and then we try to click on... First, it takes forever to load, but that's the web. If we try to click on why IPv8, or the scope, or the milestones worked, the budget, the FAQ, none of these buttons work. However, they do work. If we go back to the main page, now they do function. This is not something that a real website would ever leave in. Anyway, back on the main page, we have the goals. IPv6 fixed addresses, IPv8 fixes the operating model. After 25 years of dual stack effort, IPv6 still carries a minority of global traffic. IPv8 takes a different bet. Ship a coherent management suite first and make the address upgrade a side effect of running it. This part here is technically correct, but is not the full story. Over 50% of Asia Pacific is IPv6. Some countries like France are over 90% IPv6. And globally, we're sitting somewhere around, the numbers are a bit wonky, but somewhere around 40 to 45% IPv6. So yes, it is a minority, but saying it's a minority of global traffic puts a very different image into your head. You might think 5 or 10%, not nearly 50%. Goal number 1, address exhaustion solved. Goal number 2, management unified. DHCP8, DNS8, NTP8, NetLog8, OAuth8, ACL8, and XLate8 collapse into one zone server. One DHCP Discover delivers every service endpoint a device needs. Now again, as we talked about in the prior video, there has been this concerted effort to move away from DHCP, so effectively enforcing it at the protocol level is not something that would ever fly at the IETF. Security by protocol. East-west isolation via ACL8, north-south egress validated against DNS8 plus Whois8, hard-coded IP malware C2 channels stop working by default. a bounded routing table, and the one that got a lot of attention from people, backwards compatible. An IPv8 address RRRR equals 0000 is an IPv4 address. ARP8 dual probe selects the correct version per neighbor. No IPv4 device ever sees a V8 header. So again, IPv8 is basically IPv4 plus IPv4. It is an ASN plus an IPv4 address. And the idea here is that it would just be magically backwards compatible and your devices would just work with it somehow. Operator familiar. Again, I am afraid of hexadecimal. Hexadecimal is scary. Now, the point of the website is this at the top here. You might have spotted it. The donate button. So, this takes you out to a GoFundMe page. This so far has received 321 Canadian dollars. The image we see here is very, 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 very obviously an AI-generated image. Everyone can see that. Now, maybe this is real. Maybe something is actually going to come of this. But before you consider donating to IPv8, because IPv8 is going to change the world, I would suggest looking at the GitHub. So this is the GitHub page for Open IPv8. There is a license, which is an Apache license, Apache 2.0, and there is a README. And that is all. That is everything. There is one contribution, and the contribution, the commit, is adding in the README and the license. It has been over a week now, and no work has been done. Also, this is attached to an account which was made around the same time as the repo. This is an account with zero history besides 3 commits. There's only 1 commit in the repo. Maybe something was done. Maybe something was done somewhere else, but nothing is in the contribution graph, so they possibly just remade the repo multiple times. No, GitHub counts creating, joining GitHub, and making a repo as a commit. So there is 1 commit from an account that is supposedly going to change the internet forever. So we have a GoFundMe with an AI-generated image with pretty much confirmed to be an AI-generated website with a probably AI-generated proposal that links out to non-existent references. We have a GitHub that has no design documentation, no proof of concept, not even the beginnings of an implementation. Nothing at all from a developer who says, and maybe they do have years and years of experience, decades of experience working with networks, who says they work for a company called One Limited, which I can't really find any references on, but some people have been claiming they're from a company known as One. This is a Bermuda ISP. This is onecom.bm, where again, the only explanation of the protocol is a proposal which suggests things which would not work at all, wants to put OAuth JWT tokens at IP level, which doesn't even make any sense. And again, if you go to the bottom, there are references in here which lead nowhere. What does exist is, well, this document and a website which is asking for money and a lot of empty things. Also, there is a video explainer linked on the website titled IPv8, and let's just have a quick listen and you'll see why I mention the video.
This chart shows the global routing table for the internet. Currently, it is struggling to manage more than 900,000 advertised prefixes.
Do I need to show any more? I think everything here is AI generated. I am not saying for absolute certain that this is fake, that there is nothing here. Maybe there is something here, but every single networking professional I have listened to, I have spoken to, all of them think this is nonsense and think this was just a late April Fool's joke. Also, the author Jay Thane, or James Thane, nobody knows who they are. Nobody has any idea who this person is. There doesn't seem to be anything that links them to this protocol. All of the development of this protocol, all of the development of this proposal is done on a dedicated account specifically for IPv8. Nobody knows who this is. But in conversation with the Register, Thane said he created the IPv8 draft because existing protocols were developed for the networking problems of the day, and things have now well and truly moved on. He also thinks that few organizations other than hyperscalers and network operators have a good reason to adopt IPv6 because it doesn't offer major improvements over IPv4, and migrations to the newer protocol seldom produce return on investment. He allows that IPv4 exhaustion means many organizations and network operators do need to consider IPv6, but also the best course of action is to improve IPv4 so users get a better protocol without the need for upgrades. This article from the Register is honestly very funny because there's a section here that talks about how in networking circles there's been some criticism of this, people called it heinous, all this good stuff, and then says, others have been more nuanced. Sylvan Geffart of ISP Open Factory blogged about the draft and said, I like that there is a proposal thinking about the routing table, addressing management, authentication, and operational complexity as one bigger problem. And that's true. That was discussed in the blog post at the start, before then going and talking about how the proposal says things which are not true, and how the proposal just could not actually function in the real world. So, yes, it's true that it's interesting that somebody is talking about all of this as a singular problem, but then doesn't think that this proposal would at all solve the problem. The draft feels incomplete. Either the authors underestimate the massive scope to replacing the layered model, or they do not bring to the table yet why breaking those boundaries leads to a better and safer system. I am open for correction on my thoughts, but for me, the whole proposal feels like a thought experiment and not a real-world proposal. He thinks he can prove the naysayers wrong by building an IPv8 testbed and has commenced a crowdfunding campaign that aims to raise $100,000 to cover the cost of developing open source software, research, and testing infrastructure, plus demos and documentation. So far, that's gotten about $320, and it's probably never going to hit the $100,000 unless somebody wants to go and donate $100,000 directly to it. Again, if in 6 months, a year from now, this turns out to change everything, I am totally happy to admit I'm wrong, but as it currently stands, I don't see anything here. Nothing has changed, and frankly, I think this is going to be a whole lot of nothing. But what do you think? Do you think I should be taking this a lot more seriously? Do you think this is a real protocol, a real proposal that is actually going to change things? Or are you on my side and this feels like kind of a joke? Let me know your thoughts down below, especially if you have some background in networking, network engineering. I would love to know what you think about the proposal. So, if you liked the video, go like the video, go subscribe as well, and if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon subscribe Daily Bearer Pay linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and show me the IP.